Okay, so now the main goal is to write a program or a function that takes a URL and returns all the forms in that URL with the inputs and the link which we can submit this form to. So previously I actually showed you a way of extracting a specific element from the HTML page, and we did this in our Spider program, and we did it using regex using the findAll method. Now, as you know, you can use regex to find any substring within a bigger string using a regular expression, and as we've seen before, regular expressions are really powerful. Hence, we were able to use them to extract all the href links from a HTML page. Now, as we've seen in the guest login, in order to post form data, we have to first of all know the URL that we want to post to. We also need to find all the inputs, find the input names as you see in here, put them in a dictionary, and then submit this using the requests.post. So you can do all of this using regex, but because this is a little bit more complex, I want to show you how to do it using a module called Beautiful Soup. And this module is actually really powerful to parse and extract useful data from HTML pages. So as usual, what I'm going to show you is just an example, but you can use this module to extract literally any part of any HTML page. So first of all, before we can use Beautiful Soup, we have to import it. So I'm going to do from Beautiful Soup import Beautiful Soup. Now, once we have this imported, the first thing that we need to do is to get the HTML code of the page that we want to parse. So we've seen how to do this before. We're going to say response is equal to request, and we're going to give it the URL. So I'm going to say my target URL is equal to this URL right here. And we're just going to pass the target URL to my request function, which we'll call this function right here. And because I'm given the HTTP here in the URL, I actually don't need this in here because it just appends HTTP to the URL. So now, as we know, if I just print the response.content, I will get the HTML code of this page right here, the page that can be accessed through this URL. So if we do this real quick in here, you can see I will get the HTML code. So this is all good. We've done this before, and response.content contains the HTML code of my target page. So going to the fun part now, we're going to parse this HTML code using Beautiful Soup. So we're going to say my parsed HTML is equal to Beautiful Soup, and I'm going to give it the HTML code of my target web page, which we can access by saying response.content. So basically all we're doing right now is we're calling Beautiful Soup, we're giving it the HTML code, and it's going to return an object which we're going to store in the parsed HTML variable, and we'll be able to use that to access the different parts of the HTML page. So you can use it, like I said, to access any interesting part to you, and I'm just using the forms as an example. So if we go to our target page, which is this one, and right click the text box and click on inspect element, we will see the HTML code that's responsible for rendering this part of the page. And as you can see, when I'm over the input, it's highlighting it for me. Now, if I go up a little bit and close all of this, you'll see that I have my form in here. And this is the form that I'm interested in. So it's literally the highlighted part that's the part that I'm interested in. As you know, the most important parts for me is the action, which is the URL that this form will be submitted to, and the inputs inside this form. So if we go down here, if we open the table, you'll see that I have only one input in here, which is the text box. And this is where I want to manipulate the value and use values that might allow me to discover exploits or vulnerabilities. And then we have another input, which is this one right here. And this input is the one that submits the form. So it's actually a button that when clicked, it will submit the value that we input in here. So, like I said, you can use regex to extract all of this data, but because of the way this data is structured, the regex that you need to use might be a little bit complex and it might not work against all websites. So, using Beautiful Soup, it'll be much easier, and we can actually use it to get all the forms in the page, not only one form. So, to get all of the forms in this page, I'm gonna say forms list is equal to my parsed HTML. So it's this variable right here that contains the parsed HTML. And I'm gonna say I want to find all. And in here, you can specify any HTML tag or element that you want to find. So in our previous example, we were interested into getting the A tags because these are the tags that contain the links. So all you have to do is literally type an A in here. In this example, we're interested in the forms on this page. So I'm telling it that I want you to find all the form elements. So basically all the elements that start and end with form. If you want to find the divs, then you would type div and so on. Now what this is going to do is it's going to return a list that's going to be stored in my forms list, in which each element is a form on this page. So if I go ahead and print my forms list and run this code in here, you will see that I have only one element in this list. So it's this one right here. And I only have the code that's used inside this form. So I have the form, I have the action, I have the method of this form, and you can see it's post, and I have the inputs. So I have the first input in here and the second input, which is the button. So that's perfect. In the next lecture, I want to show you how to further analyze this and extract the inputs, the method, and the action, and then we'll see how we can use that with the post method that we used before.